Sunday in the park has a Motor City meaning today. Belle Isle Park, adjacent to downtown Detroit, is a raceway for the weekend. The drivers and teams from last Sunday's Indianapolis 500 are standing by for round 2 of a difficult doubleheader. If it's anything like Saturday's round 1, it's going to be fun. The first of the duel in Detroit is coming to the green.
Lost in the dark, I feel like a shadow of myself.
Oh, that was tight.
Look at everybody
Rahal was
sliding
sideways
around.
going in.
We touch, we bump.
Oh, that good is so close.
Elevate me, take me higher.
Willpower, Graham Rahal, here we go.
And the race is on. Advantage Power right now is flawless.
Checkered flag is in the air. Willpower for Team Penske.
Good job, boy. Awesome.
He made it very difficult, man. He never gave up.
I knew I had one opportunity, and that was on the restart, and he blocked me, and which I would have done too, so I don't blame him.
I got to do this tomorrow, and I'm like absolutely puffing to try to recover as best I can and see if we can come back and do it again. That's mega.
Conditions will be tough again on a sunny 84-degree Sunday in the Motor City. And for hours, fans have been strolling the grounds of Belle Isle, soaking it all in. But pit crews and drivers, they've been very busy preparing for another grueling street fight between the walls of the raceway at Belle Isle. And hello from Detroit, I'm Alan Bestwick. Yesterday's round 1 of this duel at Detroit was grueling. Favorites faltered, strategy was elusive, and 2 drivers put on a thrilling race to the finish. Now you got to wipe all that away and do it again between these unyielding concrete walls. Let's begin our coverage of today's race up front with the man who was the winner yesterday, down to pit road, and Jamie Little.
Well, Alan, after that win, Will Power told me that was so exhausting, and this is one of the hardest tracks you guys race at. So what did you do physically to prepare you for another 70 laps today?
I mean, last night just ate a lot, rehydrated a lot, and had my physio here work on me a bit. But I felt, I slept well, which is usually hard after a race because your mind's going a million miles an hour. But I feel good. Like I really standing here, I don't feel like that I raced yesterday.
Well, yesterday during the race, early on, you and Simon Pagenaud got together, and as a result, you said your left wrist was a little bit sore. What is going on with you two?
You ask him. I mean, I spoke to him at Indy, and I'm sick of having run-ins with the guy. I'm sick of him hitting me. But, it is what it is. I'm just going to go race our race, and, we'll see what happens today.
And the way it always seems to work out, these two lined up side by side for the start of this race. Rick DeBrule?
Well, Jamie, a week ago, Ryan Hunter-Reay was basking in the glory of having just won the Indy 500. But this weekend, a whole new race, and it's been a very hairy weekend for him all weekend long. An electrical problem knocked him out of Friday's practice. Then during qualifying for yesterday's race, he waxed the wall right here. As a result, he couldn't continue, had to start on the last row. After struggling in yesterday's race, he lost on the last lap. Look at the frustration in the cockpit. That's right, a last lap accident. Good news, he had a chance to redeem himself today, but that happened in qualifying this morning. He whacked the wall yet again. You could see the frustration both on Ryan Hunter-Reay on the right, as also the tension with Michael Andretti, the team owner, on the left. Now, normally this is about the time we talk with Ryan and get his thoughts going into the race. But, after everything that's gone on this weekend, I think we need to give him just a moment on his own. Besides, it's simple. Stay off the walls this weekend. Jerry Punch?
A lot of emotion this morning in qualifying. Elio Castroneves thought it was the thrill of victory, thinking he had won the pole, and suddenly they told him in the final seconds, no, you didn't win it. The agony of defeat. It was Japanese-born driver Takuma Sato driving for the legendary A.J. Foyt, who picked up his second pole win of the year, having won it at St. Petersburg to begin the season. And now with the legend A.J. Foyt and Takuma Sato. Takuma, you won at Long Beach on the streets a year ago. How confident are you you've got a car that can win on the streets of Belle Isle in Detroit today?
Well, I've got a great confidence, the crew and boys and engineers and, the whole team worked so hard to be here, and I got an opportunity to put on pole. So it's very tricky, obviously very bumpy track, and yesterday Will Power, won, from the middle of the pack. So anything can happen, but I think we can capable to win the race today.
Hey, good luck today.
Thank you.
Takuma Sato, a year ago when he won at Long Beach, A.J. Foyt was in the hospital. Today he will be here to be able to celebrate that victory if Sato takes it to victory lane. Alan?
Doc, thanks. And as the final minutes to the Command to Start engines count down, we look at the amazing marriage of technology and desire that's given a former IndyCar driver and current team owner the chance to show nothing's impossible.
The Indy Duel in Detroit on ABC. Brought to you by Mother's High Performance Car Care Products, formulated for fanatics.
A motor race in the Motor City on a sun-splashed Sunday. The command to start engines 5 minutes away for today's IndyCar duel in Detroit. Back down to pit road and Jamie Little.
Well, Alan, Ryan Hunter-Reay wasn't the only feel-good story in Indianapolis in the month of May. On day 2 of qualifying, Sam Schmidt, 14 years and 4 months after being paralyzed in an IndyCar crash, he drove a car again. It was an emotional day for all of us involved in this sport, and who knows Sam and his family. So how does a quadriplegic drive 4 laps around the most famous racetrack in the world? Here's John Brinkus.
After an IndyCar crash left Sam Schmidt a quadriplegic more than 14 years ago, he's back in the driver's seat. Over the last 11 months, a team of scientists and engineers designed a high-tech system that enables Schmidt to drive this Corvette C7 Stingray around the Brickyard using only head movements. Here's how it works. When Schmidt moves his head, an array of infrared cameras around the driver's seat detect motion by reflecting light off markers on his hat. These cameras can track minute head movements down to 0.004 of an inch. That's about the thickness of a single sheet of paper. This information is then relayed to a computer in the trunk at about 170,000 miles per second, nearly the speed of light. This computer interprets Schmidt's movement and sends that information to a second computer that uses advanced algorithms to output the data back to the car. Side-to-side head movement activates the steering servo motor, a gear system that controls the steering wheel. A quick head tilt backwards engages the gas servo motor, which accelerates the car. And to brake, depending on how quickly he needs to slow down, Schmidt bites down on a sensor with between 60 and 80 pounds of force. And in fact, from the time Schmidt moves until the time the car responds takes as little as 1/100th of a second. That's as fast as a lightning strike.
For me personally, this is a sense of normalcy that I thought I'd never get again. I finally feel normal because this is a normal thing to do when you're not paralyzed. Now I can do it like anybody else.
We are trying to replicate this car as close to a real driving experience as possible. We're not trying to make him feel anything different. We want the exact same fluid movement.
During testing, Schmidt has already reached speeds of more than 100 miles per hour, which means he can cover a car length in about 1/10 of a second. At any speed, safety is the highest priority, of course, which is why the car is equipped with a unique GPS safety system. This advanced tracking system can pinpoint the car's location down to 5 inches. And if the car goes off course, a computer system will take over the controls to avoid danger. Sam Schmidt and his incredible team hope to have this technology out on the open road in only 5 years. And judging by his current comfort level behind the wheel, Sam will be ready. In fact, in just his second practice run around the track at speeds around 80 miles per hour, relative to his resting heart rate, his pulse never varied by more than 10 beats per minute. For ESPN Sports Science, I'm John Brinkus.
Sam Schmidt has taken circumstances that were personally devastating to him and turned them into an inspiration and hope for many others in his circumstance. Simon Pagenaud drives one of Sam's cars today here in Detroit, hoping to bring home another winner's trophy. What a beautiful setting and a beautiful day for a race. Belle Isle, located in the Detroit River just adjacent to downtown Detroit, where today the Verizon IndyCar Series is set to go in the second round of the duel in Detroit.
Race fans, are you ready? It's now time for those most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome CEO of General Motors, Mary Barra, as she gives the command for today's race.
Drivers, start your engines!
here in Detroit for round 2 of the duel in Detroit. Now joined by the 1998 Indianapolis 500 winner Eddie Cheever and 5-time IndyCar winning driver Scott Goodyear. So yesterday had questions between drivers about blocking tactics, racing for the win, had some hard feelings between drivers after some crashes. Does it carry over?
Oh, you bet it carries over. Drivers are world champions at carrying a grudge. And they were just here yesterday, and normally you have a week to kind of work that through the system. They're right back in the same place again. And if you look at Will Power and Simon Pagenaud, they're together. So it'll be exciting to watch.
And you know something, Eddie, one of the guys we were watching yesterday was Will Power, and for him, he was given a warning yesterday by race control. Look at the shadow box here. Drivers are coming out. That's Graham Rahal trying to get on the inside of Will Power going into turn 1 on the restart with just over 10 laps to go. Didn't get it done. I think that was the move of the race that gave Will Power the win, simply because the cars were so even in speed, it was difficult for one guy to pass the other, Alan.
Well, let's take a look at the course that will challenge these drivers again today here at Belle Isle as we take a tour around.
He's got 14 turns, 2.35 miles. Turn 3, great braking zone, 4, 5, and 6. Got to get yourself set up coming out of turn 6, down to 7, another braking zone. And this next section we call the fountain turns. Very rough, very abusive for the drivers. And this next 12, 13, 14, get that run up to the start-finish line into turn 1 again. And pit road exits sometimes can have some confrontation with drivers trying to get back up to speed.
And of course, those unyielding concrete walls on both sides that provide such a difficult challenge for the drivers. There's a look at the Verizon IndyCar Series Honda Andretti TV 2-seater. Driven today by Ari Lyondike with Heidi Cross from Indianapolis on board. You can enter for a chance to start a race aboard that car at shophonda.com. Starting grid coming across the top of your screen. Had a look at some of the great onboard views we have for you today. Charlie Kimball's got our Novo Nordisk onboard camera. And Ryan Briscoe, so strong yesterday, the NTT data on board. Graham Rahal, the runner-up on Saturday, the National Guard onboard camera. Mike Conway trying to bounce back from that difficult crash from Saturday with our Verizon on board. Sebastian Bourdais is carrying a Firestone onboard camera for us. And Marco Andretti has a Honda onboard camera. And how about the two guys on the back row of this grid? Scott Dixon starting last with a Verizon on board. Who'd have thought that? And Ryan Hunter-Reay, so strong in every race this season, starting last with our AutoNation onboard camera. Go figure. And of course, we'll be watching very carefully row 4 as well.
Well, 4 could be, as we said earlier, very exciting. These two drivers just always seem to find themselves on the track, bumping into each other, and they don't need to carry that argument through today because they desperately need to get some points, especially Simon Pagenaud.
So Will Power and Simon Pagenaud have had a bit of a history earlier this season. It was in the race in Long Beach, California in April where that happened.
Will Power trying to go on the inside of Simon Pagenaud. Words were exchanged afterwards. That has continued. These guys have had problems for a long time. And this was yesterday in the dual race 1. You can see Simon Pagenaud on the orange car on the outside trying to make his way through past Will Power. Will Power just squeezes him out, and damage to the left front corner of Simon Pagenaud's car put him out of the race.
So far, every time they've come together, Simon Pagenaud's gotten the worst of it.
He'd like to change that today if they come together. And what I love about auto racing, when you have a problem with a guy, you're either parked next to him in the paddock or you qualify next to him on the grid. You just love it. It makes an interesting place for us to point our cameras, for sure. If you're looking for Spanish language commentary today, broadcast available by activating your SAP button, and it is presented by ESPN Deportes. So Scott told you the facts and figures on the course. 14 turns, 2.36 miles. It's 70 laps the distance today. Pit strategy will be a very interesting factor to watch. Yesterday, the guys that made 2 pit stops in the race lost to the guys that made 3 pit stops, and even one guy that finished in the top 5 made 4. It will be a big factor in deciding the outcome of this one. So after the grueling Saturday, the field doubling up and coming to the start. Takuma Sato in that red, white, blue 14 for A.J. Foyt, with James Hinchcliffe in Michael Andretti's blue and white 27 car to his outside. They're coming down for the start in the second round of the duel in Detroit. Enjoy. Waving off the start.
I really think that's because so many people moved out of line, Alan, before the green flag flew. I think race control looked at that and said that's not a proper start. So we'll go back and do it again. You think these guys are anxious since yesterday? Absolutely.
I'll tell you one thing I know they are for sure is tired, because yesterday was a hard race. So a lot of them are still feeling that residue.
Now, we don't know if anything happened in the back of the pack, maybe there's a car having problems, but that start I don't think was very efficient on anybody's view.
Waved off start. Apologize for the trouble showing you the replay. We'll get that back to you here in just a second. That officials have waved off the start. They'll double them up again and come back and try it again. That's from Mike Conway's view of the aborted start.
You see that lights flashing on the back of the cars. That's telling that it's under caution, so all the drivers know that. They also have lights that line up on their steering wheel, so they have an indication without having to see the flagman that the track is still not green.
And they're not quite at the point where they have to, are they on the line?
They'll double up after, right here, right through turn 12, which they're coming up to now.
And you can see how narrow this track is. There's really not that much room when they double up, so they have to be very careful, even at these speeds, not to touch the car beside them or in front of them.
Race control issuing instructions. Here we go. We'll try this again. Sato and Hinchcliffe. And we are green in Detroit.
Sato got a little bit of a jump on the field.
Look at this, from about fifth place.
And
Will Power up the inside. Contact with Newgarden. Graham Rahal is collected.
Well, there goes that.
Gosh, will Joseph Newgarden ever get any luck?
Justin Wilson there, yeah.
Graham, you still running?
Those are three really good cars and now out of the race.
Capital going to neutral.
So it looks like Graham Rahal can get his car in reverse, but the guy behind him, Justin Wilson, is stalled.
Yeah. And Kimball in a different part of the track.
Well, first the start was waved off. Then when they actually did go green, they got about 3/4 into it. They got 3 wide for a spot, and it went wrong. That's Will Power up the inside.
Everybody going for the same piece of real estate. Will Power, as you mentioned, on the inside, trying to get some movement there. Comes in just a little touch of the wheels with Joseph Newgarden, sends him sideways. So for Will Power, very aggressive move. He didn't pay the price.
And the other
Everybody
3
else
cars did. 4 cars did.
And you saw Charlie Kimball in the back section there smartly avoid it and just go down the escape road. Now let's watch here from the top. You can see Will Power sliding on the inside, trying to pass quite a few cars, but there's not room for him when he gets there. Looks like he probably could have run a bit of a tighter line, guys, to be honest with you.
Caught that curb. Here's Graham Rahal's view.
So he's getting a good run here, turns in, expects to be okay, and then in front of him, he's got nowhere to go.
So Will just moved Newgarden out of the line, and Rahal had no place to go.
Graham trying to drive back. Bits and pieces of wing left scattered around the course.
His car looks good.
Early caution here in Detroit. That was ugly. on ESPN2. Tonight, Andrew McCutcheon and the Pirates visit Yasiel Puig and the Dodgers in the rubber game of their 3-game series. And a little different twist on the telecast. The Baseball Tonight crew taking over at Chavez Ravine. 7 commentators positioned around Dodger Stadium for some unique perspectives. It's Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell at 8 Eastern on ESPN2 and live on Watch ESPN. So some controversy here in the early laps as Will Power made a 3-wide move down to turn 3 on the inside, hopped a curb, slid out and collected 3 others. Power just on and off the pit lane, along with a number of others here in this first caution.
It was a very successful move up to the point where he got to the curb, and then everybody just ran out of room, and it cost 3 cars.
But you know from driving these things just like I do that it's your responsibility that when you get down to the turn, make sure there's room there for you. And he obviously knew everybody's coming into the apex, so that's going to be something I'm sure that's reviewed by race control.
I think it's a very tough call, though, to penalize him for that.
So Power on and off pit road and now lines up in 13th.
Oh, it was pretty much stopped. Just he jumped across me. I mean, there was plenty of room outside.
But see, and I don't agree with that, because by the time he got to the center, he opened up his arc. When you go into like that and there's traffic on the outside of you, you got to keep the car tight to the curb and follow that around a little bit more. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
And the other thing that stuck out to me, you drivers tell me, but when he hopped the curb, that's going to throw your car to the left in a right-hand turn, correct?
This is a perfect view to see what happened from when he hit the curb.
So dives down the inside, which is fine. Catches a few guys, maybe going a little slower than when he thinks they should be going. But right there, up and over the curb, and the curb sends him out a little bit. But you got to know that you don't have enough room when you get on the inside there. It's the driver's responsibility for getting there. And I know you're looking at me like I'm
no, but his job is to pass cars. He did get to a certain point. He probably could have tightened the radius a little bit more.
Right.
And Newgarden probably could have gotten out of throttle a little bit. I think it's very hard to penalize him for that.
So Newgarden should let him go past.
No, his job is to defend,
Are you crazy?
Power's is to attack. That's
okay.
That's probably how the 2 different drivers involved feel about it as well.
I think
Rick.
so.
Go ahead, Rick.
Well, Graham Rahal's got the car in the pits. The original goal was to come into a quick stop, let him pack up again, and then bring him in for another quick stop. However, they have a problem with the gearbox. As a result, they've been working on that. Looks like they're going to send him back out, although they're still not totally sure that they have everything solved at this point. They've got some body damage issues in the back, a lot of problems, but their goal is to get him out and try to at least trying to keep him caught up so it maybe stay at least a lap within the leaders. Jamie?
And Joseph Newgarden pitted as well. They put a new wing on there and sticker blacks. And he went back out, and he too wants to get that lap back, but he said something is still wrong. He said they feel that the suspension is okay, but something else is wrong. Let's go to Doc.
And Justin Wilson came in after having the best finish he's had all year yesterday. Had to come in and replace the front wing. They changed the tires from reds to blacks, took a look at the tires, and made no other adjustments. Felt the suspension was okay. Just heavy damage in the front wing, but he's back there and feels like he's got plenty of time to get where he needs to be.
These cars are very delicate. They're very fast. They're very finely tuned. But the one thing they are not made to do is to bump into other cars or walls. You just touch a wall with this, and the suspension comes off. So the problem that Rahal had is probably somehow caused by that accident.
And as you mentioned, when you hit the wall or hit another car, the wheel alignment is so crucial here. So if the wheel alignment is off just a little bit, you can lose a half a second per lap.
Coming to the restart, pace cars in. Takuma Sato with Helio Castroneves behind him.
Now let's see if they learned from the first start.
Will Power again up the inside.
And no, and Hawksworth wants nothing of it. Scott, that was the same pass he did before.
Absolutely.
Hawksworth in the green and black 98, now with double wide behind him. Kanan, the black 10, and Mikhail Voloshin in the white, blue, and red 7.
And Voloshin on the right-hand side, a rookie. Tony Kanan on the left-hand side, a veteran. Oh,
Hunter Ray is
there's
gaining
Dixon.
position.
Oh, teammates, and he made sure he got out of that without hitting his teammate. Nice, smart move by Scott Dixon, the target machine. Funny seeing those guys so far back in the pack after the championships they've won in the Indy 500s.
He won't stay there very long.
Race control says Will Power's first lap incident, turns 3 and 4, is under review. We'll follow up and see what becomes of it. So Takuma Sato leads, Castroneves second, Hinchcliffe third, Ryan Briscoe fourth, Carlos Munoz fifth. Quick update, handful, actually a little more than a handful of drivers pitted under the caution. There's Power on Montoya. Another aggressive move, Power charging forward. That puts him up to 11th place. So pitting were Power, Eloshin, Kanan, Dixon, Hunter Ray, Andretti, Kimball, Wilson, Newgarden, and Rahal. Some of those, like Dixon, that splash of fuel might be important later in the race.
It wasn't yesterday's race for sure. It definitely changed. Strategy kind of went out the window with that last yellow, but the more opportunities you get under a yellow to put fuel in this race, you have to take them.
Will Power, drive-through penalty, contact.
In
You
English,
disagree with
that
that?
means you were right.
Can you say that again? I just need to be able to hear that. The interesting thing when you talk about the guys coming in, Eddie, you and I were talking about this morning, trying to get off those Firestone red sidewall tires. Yes, they have more grip, but they do not last as long because they're designed to give you high grip, but not last as long as the black tires. So the key thing here that we've seen now for Dixon and Power, when they've gone in, Alan, they've put those primary tires on to give them a longevity of being out there for full run, which could be 22 or 23 laps.
There is the drive-through penalty for Will Power being served here. Hinchcliffe looking on Castroneves for second, tries the crossover.
A nice battle going on right now there for that. He set him up going into the turn, tried to give Castroneves a hard time, tried to go underneath here. Now he needs to work on these previous turns that he's getting to and setting him up, for instance, coming out of 6 here to get a run on going down the straightaway all the way down to turn 7. They're going down there to get up to 165, 168 miles an hour, hard on the brakes, about 3.5 Gs under braking. The load is here very, very demanding.
Penske looks a little bit quicker the straightaway than Hinchcliffe's car does. He seems to be very aggressive in the slow bits.
But what I see right now from Helio Castroneves' car, as we saw him coming out of the turns, is the back end is squiggling around a lot. All these guys with these red sidewall tires, those tires, like I mentioned, not designed to last as long as the black sidewall primary tires. So the power down is the big issue from talking to all the drivers this morning. They said the tires doesn't lose grip going into the turn or mid-turn. It's trying to get out of the turn.
4th place, Ryan Briscoe there. That's Carlos Munoz in 5th in the green and white car. Mike Conway in 6th, had a hard crash yesterday. The 20 machine right there, next car in line, had a hard crash yesterday, racing in 4th position. Has rallied back today and hoping to turn that around. Conway, a former winner here.
Hinchcliffe is putting a lot of pressure on Castroneves. He has to do that all the way around the lap. You could not give them, look, there's not 3 feet between those 2 cars.
Number 3 Hitachi cars doesn't seem to come out of the turns as well.
But they're very fast in the straightaway.
Fiber and data car of Hinchcliffe. Now he's close enough this time. Will he get it done? On the inside. He's on the inside for the turn, and smartly, Castroneves knows that he cannot defend, so he just lets him go this early in the race.
And now the fight continues behind him. Briscoe, Munoz, Conway, and Sebastian Saavedra. Right there in that yellow and orange, number 17. Saavedra running in 7th, and that's Simon Pagenaud in the orange car right behind him. Conway got a run here. Oh, wow.
You can't make that work very often. Boy, that's so tight through there.
So Mike Conway up to 5th position, former winner here on Belle Isle. Did it a year ago. So in the early going, Helio Castroneves now running in 3rd after being passed by James Hinchcliffe. but they're both chasing Takuma Sato, who started on pole and has led the lap so far. Back after this from your ABC station. A reminder that after today's race in Detroit, the Verizon IndyCar Series is on to Texas. And the Firestone 600 on the fast mile and a half there. See it Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern over on NBCSN. And we wish our friends there the best of luck with their IndyCar telecast the rest of this season. ESPN Racing switches focus to NASCAR, and the NASCAR Nationwide Series coming up not far from here, up in Michigan International Speedway, Saturday, June 14th, 1:30 Eastern on ESPN. Full course caution is out here. Sebastian Saavedra, did I not just say, going to the break? What a great run he was having in 7th at the moment. He's hit the wall.
That great run has ended, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happened. He's been working with Al Jr., and his speed is getting quicker and quicker every weekend.
That is in the fountain corners, that complex of about 5 turns that wrap around the Scott Memorial Fountain.
Very fast part of the circuit that he stopped in.
You can see he's coming out of the turn and just catches the barrier on the left-hand side.
But with his front tire. That's the first time we've seen somebody do that. Normally they come out sliding and hit it with the rear.
So that means the front end was not turning for him. You can see he's going in, drives it in very hard. Looks like he's got the apex correct, but he just miscalculated the entry. And so he got, or I thought he got in the gas, Eddie, I think is what really happened, because he was so close to Ryan Briscoe. Thought he would have a chance for drafting, so he put his foot on the gas, the front end pushed out, and it just caught the barrier.
You think it might have been the air, that he was too close to the car in front
of him? Could have been all of that,
at
yes.
Speed?
Yeah, and plus the place is so bumpy. Yeah. You and I were chatting about that just even yesterday. I'm talking to drivers after the race, and everybody's looking like they're all worn out, and you and I have done both the downtown circuit and this circuit, and this place is punishing.
So second, full course yellow out. There are a couple of drivers who had pitted under the green just before the caution flag. Sebastian Bourdais, Jack Hawksworth, and Graham Rahal stopped under the green. Now with this yellow out and the field coming to pit open, those drivers have an opportunity to make a big leapfrog in track position. And then the question is, who's on a 2-stop strategy and stays out here, and who's on a 3 and comes in under the yellow? Leaders in. Rick?
Takuma Sato brings the car in. They are going to make no adjustments except they're going to take the red Firestones off, put the black Firestones on, limit the time they can do that, get more on the black tires. Things going very smoothly, getting the fuel into the last drop. The Sunoco fuel still going in. Clean out. He's away, but a relatively slow stop. Jamie?
And Elio Castroneves hopes his stop is faster than Takuma Sato, saying it's very slippery. Happy to get those black tires on there. James Hinchcliffe, who was running second, also wanted to pit there. Sato rolls through down pit road. And there's some debris out there, as you can see there, Alan. They just picked it up.
So, interesting split strategy call there. The race leader comes in. The guy who was running second stayed out.
We saw that all day yesterday, where it keeps flip-flopping from one side to the other. What I did notice there is that the Penske pit crew did a really good job to put Elio Castroneves ahead of Sato, who had been running faster on the track than he had been before the yellow came out.
Track position gained while you're sitting still.
That's the best ones for a driver.
All right, well, we're under caution for the second time already in this one, and we're just 11 laps in. And the second leader of the race is Toronto's James Hinchcliffe here on Belle Isle in Detroit. Well, they've been racing around Detroit since about the second car was built. This town's history of the automobile and automobile racing has included not only that Henry Ford race that started Ford Motor Company 100 and some years ago, but of course the Detroit Grand Prix downtown for so many years that you both raced in, the IndyCar races downtown and the IndyCar races here on Belle Isle. What a history of motor racing, and that doesn't even get into the Michigan Speedway that's just about 70 miles away.
I will let you know that I participated in the first Grand Prix they had in Detroit.
Did you?
Yes, and it wasn't in a Model T Ford either.
You wanted to get that out before I went there, right? Because you knew I was going there. So the race so far, the turn 3 crash after the initial aborted start with Will Power right side of the screen, collecting Joseph Newgarden, Graham Rahal, and Justin Wilson. Power then penalized for that, for the avoidable contact with a pass-through penalty. Graham Rahal back on the racetrack, 7 laps down in 22nd position. Newgarden 1 lap down in 20th position.
Okay, Graham, we're going to go green next time. Bye.
And Will Power has come out of all that the best, because after the pass-through penalty with the caution and a shuffle of pit stop strategy, Will is all the way up to the 12th position. Here are some of the fast movers in the race, including some who've played some strategy like Scott Dixon.
I'll tell you what Will's going to have to do if he's going to make it to the front. He's going to have to meet his good buddy Simon Pagenaud, who is now running in 4th. And it looks like Hinchcliffe is definitely in a strong position.
Just look at this. I was looking at 14 positions he's moved up for Scott Dixon. What a smart move. I talked to Mike Hall a little bit earlier on. He said, I'm not sure if we're doing a 2-stop or a 3-stop. And Mike Hall was the team manager. He said it's going to have to wait to see how the yellows play out here. But for Scott Dixon, a smart driver, Doc, and there's Mike Hall. It's just amazing how this team always seems to find themselves going forward.
Yeah, guys, Mike was adamant this would probably be a 3-stop race for them instead of trying to do it in 2 stops. They made wholesale changes in the car this morning to be able to make the front of the car more feelable, more drivable for Dixon in traffic. They had an issue, an electrical issue that wouldn't allow them to downshift. That's why they slid off the course and were starting dead last in today's field, which is rare for a 3-time champion. Dixon making progress, car driving better. They're on the black tires. They feel like they're right on schedule with fuel. He does a great job in saving fuel, but right now it's going to be a 3-stop strategy. At least that's what they were talking about when the race started.
Ducked into the pits on that first caution back at lap number 3 and took a splash of fuel. So for Dixon, one of those pit stops is out of the way. Here we come to the restart. Top 5 in the field have not yet pitted. Hinchcliffe leads them to the green.
Hinchcliffe has built up just enough of a gap that he can focus on the road ahead and not who's following.
But watch the orange car right now with Simon Pagenaud. That good, strong move.
Wrong side of the track.
Munoz, exactly. Looked like he had the speed. Carlos did a great job of defending.
Look who's putting pressure on Pagenaud.
Carlos Huertas in that blue and white 18.
One of the most consistent drivers this year.
Had his best ever IndyCar finish here yesterday.
Said he was very happy to get inside the top 10. Very talented driver. Had not seen ovals before, and I was down at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on his rookie day. When he got out of the car for the very first time, I talked to him, and his eyes were as big as saucers. He went, man, this place is fast. A road course driver, a lot of experience, so he'll be right fitting here at home.
Rick?
Well, talking about Carlos Huertas and the fact that I was talking about this track, because, you know, he came from Europe, mostly racing in Europe and South America. I said, well, how does this track compare from a bumpiness perspective to any other track you've ever driven on? He said, nothing. I've never driven anything this bumpy.
He's getting an eye-opening experience here this weekend and adapting to it well, that's for sure. Again, his best ever finish in an IndyCar yesterday, finished 8th. And the young rookie driver again running well. Little 3-2, filed back to 1 wide back there. That caught my eye for a second.
Everybody got smart right at the last minute.
Everybody's getting impatient is what's happening right now, including Marco Andretti, who are riding on board right now in the Snapple machine. You won't get that one done. Got to be patient, start to set them up here, getting through 6, getting on the main back straight here.
Big braking for turn 7. Race for 9th you're looking at. Look at the kind of accordion of the field there. What you've got here is a mix of people who have tires that are older than some others trying to come up from behind. Scott Dixon, for example, pitted back at lap number 3. He's being chased by some guys that have fresher tires than him, trying to hold his track position there.
And he has to hold on. And here comes Castroneves putting pressure.
And you know what this is like, Eddie. Your car feels good, but you just can't get past the person. So you're right up on the backside of their car, pushing the issue, hoping for them to make a mistake, but everybody's so strong in this field. We're looking at Castroneves, and just directly in front of him, Sebastian Bourdais, a 4-time winner in this series. 4 championships in a row, and down low.
And this one is done.
170 miles an hour down to 70.
Elio used one of his push to pass sessions there. Remember the button on the steering wheel that gives you the electronically momentary burst of added horsepower through the engine management system? You get 10 a race. Castroneves just used one of them up there.
And you always try to keep those for the end of the race. If you're in a good position, that makes all the difference in the world.
For the lead, Mike Conway, green, gold, number 20. All over the back bumper, there are no bumpers on these cars, all over the rear gearbox of James Hinchcliffe.
And he's, I think it's just a question of time when he passes him here. You can tell how wide he is on entry, that he feels so comfortable he can actually change his line.
Check out the Honda telemetry and watch the speed differential high to low on this difficult course.
Now Hinchcliffe is with the Firestone Reds and Conway is with the harder, more durable Firestone Blacks. The more this run progresses, the more the advantage is going to be on Conway's side. And he's coming out of 2 really close to the back of him.
On the race leader, here's Jamie.
Well, in 4 previous starts here, James Hinchcliffe had never led a lap, so he's feeling mighty comfortable up front. However, these tires are fading fast. As you noted, he's still on those softer compound reds. They said they can go to about lap 24 for fuel, but they may have to pit sooner to get those better tires. Let's go to Rick.
Well, and interesting to point out that the number 20 car, Mike Conway car, has a different tire strategy. They started in the blacks. They've been wanting a long run they haven't been able to get. As a result, they think they're finally going to start reeling them in. On the radio, they've been saying, use those black tires. I talked with team owner Ed Carpenter this morning. I said, you would all worry about going on a different strategy. They were the only team that started with those black Firestones. They said, no, we just thought that was the best way to go. In fact, we're kind of surprised no one else has done it.
Oh, he's got so much more grip than Hinchcliffe does right now. Look at the different line he's taking to set himself up for the long straightaway.
Yeah, remember those red tires, they say when they go off, you can't get out of the turn, you can't put the power down, so when you put your foot on the gas pedal, the rear tires are spinning.
Drivers that I talked with this weekend told me the key part on this racetrack they're coming into now, get through turns 1 and 2 close enough to the guy to have the run on the heavy braking to turn 3. Here's that tricky turn 2 right here.
Up over
and that's the big bump.
Because there's a small bridge there, so will he take advantage now and try and go down the inside? Hinch is running a defensive line. He's not letting him go to the inside because he knows he cannot make this car brake as well as Conway. So Conway tried the over and the under. Now he's just got to have patience. He's got a car that is capable of leading. This is where he's got to set him up. He's got to get on the gas sooner than Hinch. Go, 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 go. Up through the gears. Can he catch a bit of a draft and outbrake him? Let's see Hinch's line going into 7. I'm going to surmise that the fuel setting on Conway's car is throttled back, guys. He did not seem to have as much speed down the straightaway, so he's probably trying to conserve the fuel to get to that lap number that we talked about. There you go. This is a corner where Conway crashed the other day.
This is where he's got to get it right. It's the hardest corner. The next one, 1 and 2 are the hardest corners because you're at such a high speed that when you're in the dirty air, you don't have that much downforce. And there's a big bump right about here.
So as Conway continues to stalk Hinchcliffe for the race lead and is not yet able to get around him, Will Power has moved up to 7th spot.
Watch Will Power, the last car on the screen right now, under braking past Charlie Kimball, slides between the wall and surprises Scott Dixon in the red target machine. He's a man on a mission right now.
So Will Power trying to rally from the penalty from for contact after the lap 1 incident down in turn 3.
Conway's strategy is not going to work unless he passes Hinchcliffe. He needs to pass Hinchcliffe and get some distance between all the other cars that are running on those reds.
Coming up to the point where Conway and Hinchcliffe are going to have to pit. 5 drivers have not yet stopped. Hinchcliffe, Conway, Munoz, Pagano, and Huertas have not yet visited pit road. They're coming up to the point where they're going to have to stop soon.
And his frustration is mounting. You can tell that he's sticking his nose in places where he wasn't sticking it in before.
Oh, Munoz there with a little tail wag behind them.
And you can see how twitchy.
Got a run, turning into 1. Whoa, look out.
Now,
this is it.
I think this is it.
He's got
he's
him
done
off
it.
sequence.
Push to pass on for both of them.
Go down the inside. Now watch and see how much distance he puts between himself and the rest of the field now.
And that was very important because these guys are going to be coming up to pit stops. You want to be the first guy going into pit lane, so you wanted to get past.
Look at that, 2 corners.
Yeah,
150 yards.
Just like you mentioned, Eddie. That's exactly. They were telling him on the radio, your pit stop's coming up soon. You must get past him.
And he has to put as much distance as he can between the cars that are behind him because he's on his best set of tires. And if it should be green all the way through this run, it really is advantage Conway.
Now the bottleneck behind Hinch with Carlos Munoz there. Simon Pagino also tightly tucked in. That's Pagino in the orange car.
And not too far behind is Power.
Yep.
Who's going to have to deal with Simon Pagino if he's going to get to the front of the line?
There we go.
Hinch and Munoz both in. Also, Justin Wilson is in. Jamie?
Carlos Munoz doing a nice job this weekend. Qualified 6th for today's race. This is his first weekend here racing an IndyCar at Belle Isle. Finished 7th yesterday. He's hitting his marks. The team is happy with him. He's getting better as each lap progresses. They wanted to pack him full of fuel. Sunoco fuel 7.6 for Munoz.
So Hinch, Munoz, and Justin Wilson make the green flag pit stop here and return to the chase.
Just as yesterday, we have 3 different strategies playing out.
Yeah.
And it really depends on where the yellow falls as to who is right.
And the funny thing is, when you listen, to the drivers and the team managers after they got out of the drivers got out of the cars yesterday, all the drivers were having a hard time figuring out where they stood. How the strategy their team was playing was going to set them against the rest of the field. It really, these fields are so tight and the strategies are so varied and so intricate that it really can be difficult to understand exactly how it's all going to play out because it all depends on the one thing you don't know. You know your fuel mileage, you know your lap times, your tire fall off. The one thing you don't know, where the caution flags fall.
You don't know fate.
Yeah.
Right now, by the way, Conway was last year's winner and Pagino was last year's winner. So we've continued the discussion they had last year.
Interesting to see that Conway's lap times now that he's actually got out in front is almost 2 seconds a lap faster than the other cars.
And Aloshin is under a lot of pressure from Power, who today does not seem to take no as an answer from anybody. It'll be interesting to see how he gets around this very talented Russian driver.
The 7, Mikhail Aloshin, had a little bit of a difficult day here yesterday. Got penalized for blocking, then got tangled with James Hinchcliffe down at turn 7 when Hinchcliffe tried to dive to the inside, ran out of room, hopped the curb. Aloshin ended up getting spun out, and then Aloshin had a further conversation after the race with officials.
Scott has a word for that. What do you call it? Discombobulated?
Yes, discombobulated. But for Aloshin, who's done a great job, very fast, a very likable young man, wants to do well over here. Remember, he's just new to this country, new to the race team, new to the race tracks. So for him, he was doing very, very well. He was frustrated, did some what we call European racing. He was going to end up blocking a few cars along the way, and they ended up pulling him into race control last night and said that's not allowed.
Pit stops for Pagino and Huertas. Jamie?
Simon Pagino's team was busy this week, and he had some damage yesterday in that incident with Will Power, but they got it all back together. The car has been solid today. They'll pack him full of fuel here, put those shiny tires on there to help their driver out. They're holding him for fuel, 7.9. Nice stop for Pagino.
Conway now has a 9.9 second lead on Aloshin. That is a lot of distance. It's now up to 10.6.
Now, when you make a pit stop, when you make a trip through pit road here at Detroit, The pit road is relatively short compared to a lot of tracks, so you're only going to spend 25 seconds from the time you enter the pit lane to the time you leave the pit lane, including your stop and service, if everything goes right. So when you look at Conway, his team is watching that 25 seconds now and trying to see where they'll fall into line when they come back, what kind of traffic they'll be in, and what kind of situation they'll place their driver in, crossed with how far they can go on this fuel.
That's why he needs to make as much hay as he can right now with the car that he has underneath him. Now the lead is up to 11 seconds.
And Will Power is now in second, so we'll wait to see what kind of laps he can turn off. That looks like Tony Kanaan.
Yep, Kanaan into the pits. Tony had stopped earlier.
Taking a rip off his visor.
Doc?
Tony Kanaan coming in for his second stop of the day. This will put him on a fuel strategy to make it on one more stop. Slight wing adjustment, full of Sunoco fuel, and he is away. Great pit stop, less than 7 seconds.
Tony was one of the drivers that stopped on the first caution back at lap 3, along with Dixon and Power and Marco Andretti and Hunter Ray and a few others.
And he finished third yesterday.
Podium run, and he wasn't satisfied with it at all.
When you're driving for Target, you're expected to win. Third doesn't quite cut it.
Look at the gap.
This young man knows his way around Detroit.
So Mike Conway, the 30-year-old from England,
in the pits,
heading into the pit lane for his first stop of the day. He hits quick, Rick.
Mike Conway has the very first pit, the same pit he won from last year. The big change on the car, they're going from the black tires to the red tires. A little bit of a slow stop on the change on the left front. One thing to point out, too, they put on 3 scuff tires that have been used, and on the left front, there is a brand new tire. Apparently they had to break up a set, not sure why, but will not have any impact.
So no contest between Conway and Pagenaud and Hinchcliffe, who he was racing before. Conway long gone.
But now he's on a totally different tire strategy. He has reds on and everybody else has Firestone blacks on.
And the new leader is Will Power, yesterday's winner, who's already been penalized today for that contact. Back to Belle Isle after this from your ABC station.
welcome back to Detroit. Will Power is peeled off from the lead. What a day it's been for him. Knocked back to 20th after that penalty. Worked his way up to the lead. They just serviced him. His last time in to get fuel was on lap number 2, so they just filled him up and put some fresh tires on. He has been a man on a mission, Alan.
And he comes out on the track just in front of Simon Pagenaud.
I can't wait to see this. Now for Will Power, the tires are cold. You see the car sliding around there. He knows who's behind him. He looks in the mirror. He sees it. The drivers that don't like each other. So the tire pressures need to come up. The temperatures need to come up the tires. So for Will Power, he's pushing as hard as he can.
His temperatures are about right now. He has his mirrors full of his good buddy Simon Pagenaud.
This is where it got ugly yesterday. Those two racing for position with Pagenaud trying to find a way around Power. That's when it went wrong.
I don't think Simon Pagenaud has the pace today to stick with Power. The only car that I think can do that is Conway.
So when Will Power pitted, the race lead went to Mikhail Aloshin, who has just given up the lead to Pitt. Doc?
Yeah, the Russian rookie in, they're going to make a +1 wing change to try to add some grip to the car. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, and he is away. A flawless pit stop for the rookie.
Scott Dixon. Also on and off the pit lane, Marco Andretti and Charlie Kimball also on and off the pit lane this lap. There's Marco.
Marco has worked himself into 8th place.
Dixon and Hinch as Dixon gets up to speed off the pit lane. That's for 9th and 10th place. New leaders Helio Castroneves.
Second place is Jack Hawksworth, which is great to see him because he's always been so competitive on every course so far this year. You see that in the orange machine.
Simon Pagenaud has closed the gap on Power.
Will Power 12, black and white car. Simon Pagenaud 77, the orange car. James Hinchcliffe, the blue and white car. Racing for 7th, 8th, and 9th. They are about 21 seconds behind Castroneves.
Simon Pagenaud just a little bit of a move over to stop Hinchcliffe from getting underneath him.
That is the best possible news that Power could have, is that Simon Pagenaud is under pressure from Hinchcliffe.
228, one more stop.
Look at those cars hopping up and down as they come onto that straightaway. But a tough winter here in Belle Isle. Roger Penske, whose organization promotes this race, has worked with the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan, who now operate the park, to do what they can do to get this place in as good a condition as they could for this race. And they've talked about many more improvements coming for next year's circuit.
7th, 8th, and 9th is being followed desperately by Dixon, who's doing everything he can to catch up to that group.
So there's your gap. Mike Conway through. Ryan Hunter-Reay through. There Will Power through. So that's the gap from the leader Castroneves back to this race for 7th place. Now Castroneves pitted 18 laps ago, make it 19 laps ago. So don't expect to be too much longer before he stops. Ryan Briscoe stops now.
Ryan Briscoe qualified 5th, the highest qualifying Ganassi target car. You see them coming in nice and clean. He's been hoping for a clean race. He says this race is nothing but a lottery because you have to go with whatever the fuel strategy is for this race. So it'll be interesting to see if he's on the right one and pick the right numbers.
I think in about 2 more laps, Dixon will have caught up to this group.
There are 8 drivers that have only made 1 pit stop in the race so far. Everybody else 2 inside. Munoz on Aloshin forcefully. Charlie Kimball gets by while Aloshin tries to regroup. So coming up on the midway point of the second of the weekend's dual in Detroit races for the Verizon IndyCar Series, Helio Castroneves is the race leader. Reminder that Jimmy Kimmel Live is your late night destination this week with Tom Cruise, One Republic, Alyssa Milano, and tomorrow Dr. Phil on the guest list. Late nights 11:35, 10:35 Central. Jimmy Kimmel Live on ABC. Elio Castroneves live on the pit lane. Jamie?
Two-time winner here. His first ever IndyCar Series win came here in 2004. Tires here. Car has been good for the 3. Rick?
Takuma Sato, the pole sitter who kind of slid back, brings the car in. They put on 4 black sidewall tires. Nice clean stop, much faster than their first one.
So that hands the lead to Jack Hawksworth, who will be pitting very soon. Ryan Hunter-Reay in 4th will also be pitting very soon. And where does Sato shuffle in? You saw Justin Wilson going by him. That'll put Sato back to around 13th or 14th
More
place.
front wing or less front wing?
What a nice job Jack Hawksworth has done in this 98 car this season in his rookie year in the IndyCar Series.
That was team owner Brian Herta on the radio asking him if he wants more front wing or less front wing. He's not responded yet because it's hard to be able to talk and drive around this race course.
That might mean that he doesn't want anything. He's going fast enough, just leave it alone. This young man is very athletic, very quick, very consistent. He is going to have a great future in IndyCar.
Running second yesterday when he had a mechanical failure on the car. Here he comes to the pit lane, Doc.
And when he had the failure with the brake rotor, he went back out and worked on saving fuel. He learned how to make 3.4 miles per gallon. That may be what they're banking on right now. Brian Herta said this might be their final stop. With a little break and some yellows, they may be able to make it. It would be about 4 laps longer than anyone has gone. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel holding. Got to get it full of fuel this time. Got to get it completely full. Took a little extra time, but that may be their last time on pit road if they catch some yellows and a break.
Well, there's one to keep an eye on. 36 laps to go for Jack Hawksworth. And again, needing some yellow flags to make that number that Doc was just talking about.
But he's close.
Came out in front of Sato and in front of Ryan Briscoe. So Elio Castroneves, Mike Conway, and Sato is turned around.
Going the wrong way.
You're clear after board A.
Oh, no, 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 no.
That's a 170-mile-an-hour area coming down there. Lots of yellow flags waving from the turn marshal to tell them there's something up ahead that he needs to be considered about.
Just off the pit lane was Takuma Sato.
Remember, tires are cold, not much grip. What happens here?
Oh, that's Ryan Briscoe.
Sato was just a passenger in that. He was very lucky.
Oh, and you know how frustrating that is. Now we're riding along with Ryan Briscoe. Tries to fit in the middle. I'm not sure that was really going to work too well.
That was not a good move.
Which is very unlike Ryan Briscoe because he's, I think, one of the cleanest drivers that's out there, but he was just going for a space that he was hoping was going to be there.
So now Castroneves is leading. He has a 2.6 second. Conway's locking up his tires under braking.
Jack Hawksworth speeding on the pit lane. Last stop, just doing his pass-through penalty right there. That's a heartbreaker.
Conway has to stay out as long as he can on these reds. He's the only one on the track right now that has the red strategy. And they tend to be going, it looks, Scott, doesn't it, from his times that his speeds are dropping off. He's lucky that Hunter-Reay is holding up the rest of the group.
Because right now Conway seems to be about a half a second a lap slower than Elio Castroneves, who's just up ahead.
I'm impressed that Castroneves was able to hold the lead through that pit stop cycle because it wasn't a full cycle of pit stops. Some of the guys stayed out, but he's been fast.
They're the best in the business when it comes to pit stops.
So, watching Ryan Hunter-Reay running in 3rd position and needing a pit stop soon.
Soon.
I'm following, doing this number. What do you want me to do? Keep doing it. We're going to need a lot of yellow help if you give up now and start running flat out.
All right, so we know what their strategy is.
He's well overdue for a pit stop. It's been 25 laps.
Stretch the fuel, get as close to the finish as you can when that warning light comes on. Telling you you're about out. Top it off and then stretch it some more.
You know what that's like, Eddie? They're trying to tell you to go fast, but also conserve fuel.
And don't have an accident.
Kind of cross purposes there, huh? Will Power, black and white car. Simon Pagenaud, orange car. James Hinchcliffe, blue and white. That's 4th, 5th, 6th with Scott Dixon there in 7th.
And Conaway is just slipping into the clutches of Hunter Ray, and he has the wrong type of tires on for this point of the race. He has to hold on as long as he can.
Race control has reviewed the incident down in turn 3 with Ryan Briscoe, Takuma Sato, and Jack Hawksworth. No action taken.
Wow. Hunter Ray under a lot of pressure from Power.
This guy has had a miserable weekend. They are trying to make something out of what's been an extraordinarily difficult time. Oh, Mike Conway again.
Conway again under braking.
He's trying to go in so deep in the turns, locking the brakes up. He looks in his mirrors. He can see that whole group coming towards him, Eddie, as you mentioned.
I'll tell you what's happening now to Conway's tires. Conway's tires are starting to get square. They're starting to vibrate. When you block your tires like that, the tire is no longer around. And that is not fun. So not only does he not have grip, he's got a big vibration in the steering wheel.
But he's in the same spot that Hunter Ray is. He's got to stay out there to a certain point before he can stop and take on that next set of tires.
But he has the Firestone Reds on. And they're no longer as grippy as the blacks are.
Right, but he can't just stop and take them
off.
he can't.
He's right now he's trying to get to lap 46. And we're on
Hunter
lap
Ray has some sort of an issue.
He's trying to save fuel, and all these guys with fresher tires and more fuel are going by him.
He's got something else. He's out of fuel.
It could be.
He could be out of fuel right now.
They just said to him on the radio, Mike Andretti said, okay, pit.
He was out of fuel, Alan.
So he probably knew that already, that he was coming in the pit lane, didn't he?
Run until the warning light comes on, right, Rick?
And a little bit past it in his case.
Ryan Hunter Ray brings the car in. One of the things they're telling him, make sure he hits the marks. He had a little bit of a problem with that yesterday, which caused a slow stop. They bring him in. You remember talking about the fact that he's frustrated. They are doing a minor wing adjustment, putting on red black wall tires, or black sidewall tires, I should say, and sending him out. But what a frustrated weekend for this guy. He's had all those problems, and now when he wants to go out and race, they're giving him a fuel strategy. And like you guys say, no driver really likes that.
So Hunter Ray's strategy has been set. Now you see the guys on the fresher tires swallowing up Mike Conway, who's out there struggling on those softer red sidewall tires and trying to make it to his fuel window.
Conway is a sitting duck right now. There's nothing he can do.
And what happens with those tires, and they're designed to go off, the car just starts to feel like you're driving on marbles. So right now, watch the second car in line, which is Will Power in the Verizon machine, diving underneath.
You could see the flat spots there.
Yeah, he's got a very vibrating car right now.
You could see the flat spots in that replay on the front tires of that 20, the right front particularly. That's got to feel miserable behind the wheel.
Terrible.
That vibration comes up through the steering shaft and then also through your hands. Rick?
Yeah, Mike Conway, as you could see, was getting just eaten up on the track, those red tires. The original plan, quite frankly, was to go as short a distance as they could on those red tires. They probably went just a little bit longer than they liked. Nice clean pit stop, those black sidewall, the black Firestones, and they're away.
Great pit stop.
But what happened to them? No yellow flags when they were probably expecting one by their statistics on what's happened in past races here. You can make all the plans you want. What was your word? Fate?
Fate is king here.
Past halfway today, show you what's happened with our Mother's Race Rundown. The first lap crash involving Will Power. Down in turn 3, collected Joseph Newgarden and Graham Rahal. Also Justin Wilson involved.
That was just everybody trying for the same piece of real estate. Power almost made it through the first one. Didn't, but the second one he went perfectly.
Did not dim his aggressiveness whatsoever, even after he was penalized for that contact in the lap 1 crash. Power has been on full charge all day.
And he had the courage to do the exact same thing again, but that second time it went flawlessly.
Ryan Hunter-Reay, his team using tactics to try and get him some track position. They got him up as far as 3rd place. Now after running a little bit dry on fuel, he's fallen all the way back after his last stop to 19th place. And it's been Helio Castroneves out in front in this recent section of the race. Castroneves has led the most laps today. Paulson, Takuma Sato, and James Hinchcliffe have each led 10. Castroneves has led 14. Other major players are Will Power and Mike Conway, but Power's running second, and Conway, after that pit stop a moment ago, is back in 17th.
So what Castroneves needs right now is a clean 10, 12 laps without any yellows.
In our window in about 6 laps.
There's Castroneves, the race leader. And now we look back for the 2nd place car. And we'll avoid whistling a tune here because it's going to take a second for him to come into view. There is Will Power, still dogged by Simon Pagenaud and James Hinchcliffe. That's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 11 seconds behind the race leader.
Dixon is not that far behind.
All right, you brought up a question to me during the commercial break. I'll ask it right back to you. You think Power's saving fuel here?
I think there's a strong possibility he's trying to stretch it out as much as he can. It's very difficult to do that when you're being attacked. But he caught them and passed them, put up some gap, but then he tended to fall back a little bit. So he might be repeating what he did yesterday, which was going very fast and saving some fuel. The more fuel you save right now, the shorter your next full tank is going to be.
Less time you'll spend sitting still on that last pit stop.
Bud. So you know, we got to make that 35.
10:35. That must be a number on his computer that he has to make per lap. This is a very impressive group of drivers. All with different styles, all with different ways of driving around here, but they're so close. And Munoz is catching up to Dixon.
When you're in a race like this and you're running with the same group of cars very tight together, lap after lap after lap, does it get frustrating underneath the helmet after a while, just seeing that same color in front of you or something?
I think the frustration really is when you can't turn your fuel knob to almost like a race position when you're asked to go fast but then also conserve fuel. And all you need is just a little bit more power coming out of turns or a bit more power going down the straightaway, and you could get close enough to the guy in front and make that pass. That's what they don't have now, because I'm sure everybody is told to conserve fuel, make a fuel number. That's the frustration as a driver. You're trained to pass the car that's in front of you no matter what. And it's difficult to sit back right now and try and make fuel mileage.
Alan, we have a long way to go still. If it was 20 laps to go, the frustration would be a lot higher. If there was 10 laps to go, the frustration would be almost unbearable. If it was 5 laps to go, you'd be furious with the car ahead of you.
Tear off for Scott Dixon. Carlos Munoz on the pit lane, Jamie.
Carlos Munoz, again, doing a great job today. Ziggy calling the shots on the box for him. 9 seconds flat, first time to Detroit, and he is just a machine getting the job done today.
And being lap 44, he was very close to what everybody said you have to get to lap 46 to make it your last stop. So if he can conserve fuel, he should not have to come in anymore for a fuel top-up.
Yesterday, Justin Wilson pitted at lap 42 and made it to the finish, with 4 laps of caution in there to aid him. We're at lap 44 now, but the question is, can you count on getting those laps of caution to get you there?
We believe that every 4 laps you do under a yellow, you manage to get 1 race lap of fuel back.
Which is a remarkable ratio.
Yes.
You know, me being from
Hinchcliffe is in the pits.
4th place car. Jamie, here he comes.
And James Hinchcliffe, they're telling him this is going to be a slow stop. We got to pack it full to make it to the end of this race. James Hinchcliffe, of course, just Not far from here is where he grew up, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, feeling like this is a second home, he said. He's had a huge welcome here. 4 tires, fill him up with Sunoco fuel. He's in the #1 pit box, and it's fast, 7.8. Doc?
And Montoya is saying they really have struggled with their street course setup, made a major change before today's race, still struggling to get the grip level, trying to get the left front on, he's down and away, but it's an 11-second stop.
Looked like that wheel nut bounced away from the tire changer, Doc. He had to go to the belt and get the spare to put on.
He went from having a car he said was almost undrivable on Friday to having something that worked well yesterday, Saturday, and then this morning just did not seem to work well for him again.
Helio Castroneves here yesterday in the first of the 2 dual races. Led 30 laps, was on a 2-stop strategy, and the cautions didn't fall right. He wound up finishing in 5th position. Now he's led the most laps again here today, and they're trying to see if they've got the strategy right for the track position to work out his way at the end of the day, and we could see that fence climb again.
Had Lady Luck not played in the other driver's favor, I think Castroneves would have won by quite a large margin yesterday.
Simon Pagenaud's in, Jamie.
Oh, this has been the day that he's been looking for all week, and it was a tough day yesterday from qualifying to the race. Rob Edwards telling him this will be the last stop for him for the day. The car has been great. They packed them full, no changes, Rick.
Takuma Sato brings the car in. He has been fast ever since that incident on the track. What he desperately needs is a yellow flag to pack everything up. But once again, that should be his last stop as well. They're comfortable with the car. They know they have the speed. They just need a little track position.
That's Justin Wilson following Sato back out onto the racetrack.
I would say the chances of a yellow, looking at what's happened here in the past before it's all over, is pretty good. Let's just hope it's for something silly.
Well, as you said, Eddie, when it comes down to the last 20 laps, 10 laps, 5 laps, drivers start to do some desperate things. So that's the time that all the team managers are on the radio saying, patience, patience. But as you know, it's tough for us to turn around and listen to that when we want to get past the guy that's in front.
Castroneves with the big lead, dropping back a little bit. Tony Kanaan running 6th. Ryan Briscoe trying to chase him down and keep it off the wall.
This is not a track that you can...
Ryan, Tony's coming in this lap. When you clear him, go to mix 1 in the front hard.
That was close.
That's Carlos Huertas ducking in behind Ryan Briscoe. Mikhail Aloshin is also in. Tony Kanaan is also in on the pit lane. Doc?
Tony Kanaan slipping and sliding around, wanting to come in and get the 4 tires. They was trying to hang on as long as he could, not to be able to lose valuable track position. Now they've come in and put his tires on his final stop there with the black Firestones.
I don't want to be the buzz killer for power, but Castroneves has a 13.2 second advantage on him.
And he's turning laps about 0.4 of a second faster.
Glove save and a beauty for Ryan Briscoe here. Watch the hands.
That was one way and then all the way the other way.
That's called a tank slapper.
That's called talent and fast hands.
Looks like the back end's just on the verge of stepping out all the time right now, isn't it?
He's due for a pit stop pretty soon. He's been out there 17 laps.
So when the back end starts to jump out on like that, you then start to squeeze the throttle a little slower.
A couple more laps here.
And the steering wheel a little tighter.
Yeah, a couple more laps, and he's thinking, I need to come in now.
And that's the thing about this course, isn't it? It's so incredibly demanding. The bumps, these cars have no power steering. The drivers are constantly wrestling the steering wheel to keep control of this 100-and-something mile-an-hour car between these 2 concrete walls that they place pretty close together. Marco Andretti's in, Jamie.
He got a little bit better run yesterday, was in top 10 most of the day. Now he's finding himself back in 7th. Car has been decent. This will be their last stop of the day. Try to make up some time here on the leaders. And he's down and away.
Alan, it is such a good feeling when you come in the pits with a worn out set of tires and they give you new rubber. It's like you have a brand new car with grip. It brakes better, it turns in better, it puts the power down better. And it's so exciting if you're in a good place on the track to get that.
So the top 6, as you watch that scoring crawl, top of the screen, have not yet made their pit stop. Here's the race leader, Helio Castroneves. He's up 38 seconds on Mike Conway. Jamie, he should be able to get in and out and stay ahead of the 20.
Well, Roger Penske on the box calling the strategy here, reminding his driver, do not speed. We don't want to throw this away. Of course, Roger going against the strategy of Tim Cindric, his own team. I can only imagine they wanted to be one lap separated. They thought they would be, but Will Power is on his way into his pit box. Elio Castroneves, last service of the day, and there's the 12 of Will Power. Of course, yesterday's winner, a little bit sore wrist, but he said it doesn't bother him when he has that adrenaline rushing. Get enough fuel to make it to the end. Let's go to Doc. Woo!
And what a great stop for Scott Dixon's bunch. Less than 6.5 seconds puts him right on the backside of Power. What a great stop for Dixon here in these final runs. Rick.
Mike Conway brings it in. They're going to go ahead and put those tires on, send him back out. Nice, clean stop. At this point, what they've decided, it is time to simply race for the finish. They know that Mike Conway is fast. They've given him a car and said, go for it. And that's his job now, is to get that car up as much as he can.
Here is Jack Hawksworth in. They're going to go up on tire pressure. They were going to do a front wing change. Hawksworth called it off, said, no, I'm way too loose. They come in, decided to go in, and just under 8.5 seconds for Hawksworth's final stop.
So of all those pit stops, the one that was the slowest was Castroneves's, wasn't it?
Somebody is off the pace on the course. It's Graham Rahal.
Yeah, I think I passed the left rear. I don't know what happened again, same as before. Just a bit too much push. I can't see, so I'm gonna go behind the curve.
Talking about the left rear, I think he's probably clipped the wall.
And Ryan Briscoe's in, Rick.
One nice thing about the green flag pit stops is they're nice and clear in and out. The drivers don't have to worry about how they're dodging around somebody. Nice, clean pit stop, and he's away.
And just a reminder, as we look at Graham Rahal limp back in, he was in that big crash in the first lap when he had contact both front and back, and who knows if something's been affected on the car that's eventually just failed.
It could be anything. That is very unnerving when you're going slow like that around these blind corners trying to get offline, because you never know who's going to come up rushing behind you.
Much push and didn't compensate for it.
So tough day for Graham Rahal today after having that great second place finish here on Saturday that looked that he hoped would be the launching point for a better turn of luck than the difficult times he's had so far this season. Elio Castroneves leads. We've got 20 laps to go. Will the yellow flag come out and completely change the picture? Could be. We're back to Belle Isle after this from your ABC station. Belle Isle, the beautiful 900-acre park in the Detroit River between downtown and Windsor, Canada, where the Verizon IndyCar Series is racing today. Next weekend, it's on to Fort Worth for 600 miles on the high-speed mile and a half. It's next Saturday night at 8 Eastern over on NBC SN. ESPN's motorsports coverage continues in a couple of weeks. Up the road, 70 miles at Michigan International Speedway, the NASCAR Nationwide Series in 2 weeks, Saturday, June 14th, 1:30 Eastern on ESPN. Had a little photo finish in that one last year between Kyle Larson and Regan Smith. Expect we'll see another good one in a couple of weeks. Helio Castroneves leads Will Power by 10 seconds. That gap has shrunk by 1 second in the length of that last commercial. The one we're scratching our heads about was the pit stop just made by Mike Conway a minute ago, because he was in a little bit sooner than I thought we would see him. Rick, what's the story from the 20 pit?
Well, let's ask that Carpenter the question. It looked like Conway came in earlier. He could have stayed out there longer. Why bring him in?
We had a flat spotted tire down at the cord, so we were going to lose it. You know, disappointing for the Fuzzies car. We were in a good position there for 2 and had to pit early, and you know, kind of threw the race away a little bit. But we'll hang in here and see what we can do at the end.
All right, that's it. Tire issues. We saw how hard he was working out there, and at one point actually causing some tire smoke going into turns, and apparently that was likely the problem in this case.
Yeah, so where we all thought that locking up with the smoking brakes was just attributable to being out there on the older, softer compound tire, maybe that wasn't necessarily the case.
Maybe that just compounded the issue that he had.
So 17 laps to go. Castroneves, Will Power, Scott Dixon, Charlie Kimball up to 4th place, and Simon Pagenaud running 5th. Are they all good to go to the finish? What about 6th place, James Hinchcliffe? Well, not so sure.
James, shoot for 3:16 or better. We're a lap short right now, and then we'll turn you up later. All those people ahead of you are for position.
I love that. You make 3.16 miles to the gallon. The guys in front of your position, so go faster, saving fuel, and get up there and pass those guys.
And you have, but you have 16 laps to do it. Right now, Castroneves and Power are pretty dominant, and Castroneves has a 9.8 second lead
when you can, 6.
on Power, and Dixon is right up Power's gearbox.
So fuel position 6 we heard for James Hinchcliffe. That's going to help him save a bit more fuel. That's the knob on the steering wheel that he gets to turn. 8 different positions, so the team has looked on their telemetry, the information they get in their computer, telling him to go to a different position to hopefully save more fuel.
We talked a lot yesterday about Will Power winning from 16th starting position. How about Scott Dixon, who started last in this field? Has driven his way, combined with the strategy that Mike Hall has called, up to 3rd position on this one, and right on that back wing of Will Power to try and get 2nd.
Who was last year's winner, yesterday's winner. The funny thing at the end of the race yesterday was Dixon saying, what strategy? Every time we thought we had a strategy, it changed on us.
There's a strategist on the left-hand side, Mike Hall. Dixon is so smooth. Watch his wheel.
Good job.
So Scott Dixon running 3rd. Graham Rahal finished 2nd yesterday. He will not do so today, Rick.
Well, such a great race yesterday, such a frustrating start to this one. I'm just going to assume the damage from that first lap, that first incident was too much. Explain.
Yeah, I mean, what happened was when you know, when we got into it, I got a great start. I got by about 5 guys, and I saw Newgarden. I knew there were 2 inside, but I didn't know who the other one was. I guess it was Power. And I saw Newgarden start to turn in, so I thought, okay, I'm clear. I'll just start to go. The next thing I know, Power just drilled him and hit him straight into me, and I T-boned him then. And when I got hit from behind, it broke the gear sensor. And when it does that, these cars can't run. It's all electronic, so the car wouldn't go into gear at all. And that's why we had to come back and try to fix the loom. But the guys just, you know, unfortunately, we couldn't fix it. But they did a phenomenal job, only losing 7 laps. But unfortunately, these things happen. I mean, it's luck, you know, it's just the way things go. I was trying to build upon yesterday. National Guard guys had a great day, and hey, I don't know, man. Just got to keep our chin up and go, but we'll be all right.
That's exactly all they can do. Once again, a great finish yesterday, just a frustrating day today.
So Graham Rahal out, Sebastian Saavedra out after wall contact earlier in the race. Those are the only 2 drivers out of this one. As we take a look at our Carfax race summary, some of the facts and figures on it. Closing in on the finish, 7 different leaders. The 2 cautions, both early, one on lap 1, with Will Power going 3 wide into the corner. Rahal involved in that one. Then one when Saavedra hit the wall at lap number 10. You see Castroneves has done most of the leading today. Pole sitter Sato and front row starter James Hinchcliffe also doing a lot of the time out in front. Great days from Scott Dixon and Charlie Kimball to gain a lot of track position. Dixon running third, Kimball running fourth right now, and that's the way things stand with 14 laps to go.
What I'm watching right now is Elio Castroneves and Will Power, their times. We're seeing Will Power turning times of almost a half a second a lap quicker than Elio Castroneves, and he's now bringing the gap down to about 9.5 seconds between Will and Elio.
A 9.5 second gap is enormous around here.
So Castroneves leads, Power is second, there's Dixon third, Charlie Kimball, that great drive by the 83, running in fourth place with Simon Pagenaud right behind him.
Simon has had a frustrating day today. He had a very fast car, but he just couldn't quite keep up with that first group. Whereas Kimball's just stayed out of trouble the whole race, Scott, and look where he finds himself.
Started 20th, did Kimball today.
Very impressive, because Ganassi has had a problem recently just with trying to get their cars up to speed at a few places. I know it's been frustrating for them. We've seen that. But now for Charlie Kimball to be doing such a great job here, that's a good turnout, especially with Scott Dixon just ahead of him.
So there's Kimball and Pagenaud, fourth and fifth. Looking back, there's James Hinchcliffe, who runs in sixth place. And we heard the radio traffic a minute ago that he still needs to stretch the fuel and make a number just a little bit to get to the checkered flag.
Unlike the cars ahead of him, Castroneves and Power can go as fast as they want.
Hinch stopped last at lap 45, Castroneves and Power at lap 49. Really solid day for Mikhail Aloshin in the 7. The rookie driver running in 7th place now, looking for what would be his best finish in the IndyCar series so far.
This is not an easy track to finish, and he's done a great job at this point. He's been very fast, had a difficult race yesterday. Today, he's really made up for it.
Interesting, his teammate was Simon Pagenaud. Simon said as a rookie, he actually contributes to information on setup with the car, so they're very pleased that he's actually on the team this year.
Now, if James Hinchcliffe is saving fuel to the finish, then so isn't Carlos Munoz in that green and white 34, because Munoz stopped at lap 44 for the last time. He's running in 8th place now, being chased there by Ryan Briscoe. Briscoe last pitted at lap 50, so he's good to go to the end.
Briscoe had a little bit of a moment early on in the race.
Yep, we saw Ryan there with his hands very full, but kept that car off the wall.
And he was very lucky that nothing broke on the car.
Just behind Briscoe, there's Tony Kanaan, running in 10th place, one into the wall, Sebastian Bourdais.
Well, if this brings out a full course yellow, guys,
this does.
We're going racing,
course
and it does.
Here we go.
All right, the race is on. I'm happy about this one.
9.4 second lead for Elio Castroneves over Will Power, erased by Sebastian Bourdais, running into problems. That's down in the turns 5-6 area of this 14-turn course.
This changes the whole complexion of the race.
Puts James Hinchcliffe back into it because he's sitting in 6th. He will not have to have his fuel trim set back, which conserving fuel also slows the engine horsepower down. So right now he'll be very racy.
Alan, we were just talking about what would happen if Power was attacking Castroneves. You think he would take a different perspective than he did with other people?
Now let's watch with Bourdais. He's on the throttle. Coming up to 5. Oh, loses the front end and just catches the tire barrier.
Wow. That was a hard hit.
Yeah, it was. And you got to get your hands away from the steering wheel there, and you can see the frustration that he has. Talk about a talented driver. Born in Le Mans, France. When you grow up in Le Mans, France, Eddie, as you know, how cool is that to have the 24-hour Le Mans there all the time? Have you competed in that?
I have. I've won it.
Well, what's been a frustrating season so far for the former 4-time champ continues today here in Detroit as Sebastian Bourdais into the tires and bringing out the yellow flag with 11 laps to go in the race. So the nearly 10-second lead for Castroneves over Power erased. Maybe some of those that were close on fuel to the finish helped by this yellow. It's going to be an all-out sprint to the checkers when we come back to Belle Isle. On ESPN2 this evening, Andrew McCutcheon and the Pirates visit Yasiel Puig and the Dodgers for the rubber game of their 3-game set. And the Baseball Tonight crew takes over the telecast at Chavez Ravine with 7 commentators positioned around the park to provide some very unique perspectives. It should be fun. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell, 8 Eastern on ESPN2 and live on Watch ESPN. Well, here at Belle Isle in Detroit, the second of the Twin Bill IndyCar duel in Detroit races is going to come down to a frantic finish. Good crowd that's turned out on what's now an 86-degree afternoon in Detroit. Much welcomed by these folks, I'm sure. Any of these people that complain about the heat after the winter they had.
Nobody's complaining about that.
Without question. But these drivers are going to sure be sweating and looking for some hydration at race's end. And they're really going to have to work hard now for these final 9 laps. So, Helio Castroneves will have his teammate Will Power behind him for the restart. That's one dynamic. Here's another. The last restart yesterday with Power leading Graham Rahal.
And Graham Rahal was trying to make a move, and Will Power moved over on the way into turn 1. So later, when Graham Rahal was interviewed, he said, well, he blocked me and I would have done the same thing. I'm going to be interested to see, Eddie, how these teammates work it out coming down to the start. Helio Castroneves in 4th, and first in his teammate, Will Power 2nd. I bet you Helio's on the gas, probably back around turn 11, 12.
You're absolutely right. I'm intrigued. Nobody knows because only the drivers that drive for Penske know this. But I wonder if there's a rule that they have to maintain that when you're together, don't attack for the first half a lap.
Well, let's think about this for a second. We're at Roger Penske's hometown race that he puts on, and all his sponsors are here. I'm not sure that I would want to be a driver that causes the crash to take out both of the team cars.
Some numbers to think about. Helio Castroneves' name not on that list, to the fastest on the first 2 laps after the restart, though he is leading with clear track ahead and plenty of push to pass left on his steering wheel. By the way, here's what I'll say about this. What I hear from team owners of multi-car teams over and over and over again is one rule. No team orders, do anything you want, just don't wreck each other.
Absolutely.
Ryan Hunter-Reay's weekend of misery continues, Rick?
Yeah, this is just one weekend that he's going to try to forget, and it may have significant impact in the championship standings at the end of this. They're having a problem with the ECU unit and then the electronic control unit, and just as he came in, he said he couldn't get it into neutral. They brought out a new one to try to put that into, but to be honest with you, when they first came in, there were a lot of guys kind of scratching their heads, looking around, trying to figure out what to do. This is not a good situation for the guy who just won the Indy 500.
Well, Hunter-Reay, who got double points for winning at Indianapolis in the 500 last Sunday, has lost double points this weekend to one of his principal rivals for the title, Will Power, who won yesterday and is running 2nd right now here in Detroit.
Such a long way to go in the championship.
Scott Dixon running 3rd.
Okay, Scott, when we get ready for the restart, we're going to be fine on the fuel. We're going to be fine with the push to passes. We have 9 laps to go. And remember what happened, remember how upset Helio was at St. Petersburg with Power, so there may be some gamemanship going on there.
Well, that's an interesting thought that Mike Hull's sending to Scott Dixon as well.
He's telling him, stay a little bit back because these 2 guys don't like each other. They just might bump into each other. I would hate to be the driver that causes an accident at his own private Grand Prix.
That's what I said.
This is here because Roger Penske wanted it to be here.
Just remember the situation back in St. Pete. Will Power was leading. Castroneves was 2nd on a restart, and there was controversy about what happened. End result is the field accordioned. There was a crash behind Power. And then when they did the ensuing restart, Power got away from Castroneves and won the race. And there is the swing on the championship with Hunter-Reay's difficult weekend here in Detroit. He will be glad to see this one gone. Look at the pace now. Pace car pulling away.
And Helio's putting his foot on the gas, warming up those rear tires by spinning them, just like you would in drag racing, because he does not want to have the tires spin on him and not have traction during the restart. Doc?
Again, they reminded Dixon, hang back, be careful. This is a championship implication. These Penske teammates, keep your eyes open. So Dixon may give him a little bit more room than he ordinarily would have these final 8 laps.
I think Power's going to make his run in turn 3, not in turn 1.
Got to stay close through 1 and 2 to have the run. They'll both be on the push-to-pass button on that straightaway down to 3. So here we go. 7 laps to go in the race. Penske teammates 1 and 2. Castroneves, Power, then Scott Dixon, Charlie Kimball, and Simon Pagenaud coming to the restart.
Nicely timed by Elio Castroneves, giving himself a gap.
That was a perfect start by Elio Castroneves. Perfect. Just gave himself enough of a buffer.
The run to turn 3. Who makes a move? Pagenaud inside, defensive line, Hinchcliffe behind him.
Watch Hinch go on the inside now. Does he make it?
He's got it.
He does.
That was perfect.
Remember, Hinchcliffe was the guy that had to conserve fuel. Thought he might be a lap behind on the fuel numbers. Now with that yellow, he doesn't have to worry about that 100% fuel, and he's going to race.
And Aloshin just passed.
Got Munoz behind him. Here's Scott Dixon. A run to the inside of Will Power with a peak for second place. Not able to make it work.
These two guys,
because he just ended up getting to the dirty side of the corner.
And Kimball gets by.
Now he's got some dirt on the tires. It takes a lap or so to get all that off. He's struggling for grip.
He doesn't have a lap.
No?
He doesn't. No, I think he might have something. He might have a problem. Hinchcliffe has passed 2 cars in 4 corners.
Temperatures look normal.
That temperatures look normal, so something must be being questioned by Scott Dixon there about what's going on when he's pressing that right foot.
We'll see how he comes out at 2.
Full course yellow.
Full course yellow, full yellow, full yellow.
There is a car that was off at turn number 5. It's Takuma Sato. And it has led us to a full course caution.
They just went full course yellow, just sit tight.
And all the work that Castroneves did to get clear of Will Power on the last restart, he's going to have to do again.
And that's when you say, are you kidding me? Again? Spoke with Don Holliday, the engineer for Takuma Sato this morning, and also the chief mechanic, Tom Howard. Really enthusiastic about how well they are running today, but the day just did not turn out to be well. And you see AJ Foyt, Eddie, who you ran for, you know he expects results.
Yes, he does. He's had an amazing career as a team owner and obviously as a driver. One of only 3 people in the world who have won the Indianapolis 500 4 times.
Well, Takuma Sato's day ended in the same place that Sebastian Bourdais did just a minute ago. Yeah, the trophy for winning the pole.
Yeah, it's not the one he really wanted, though. Let's see what's happening here. Oh, he might have got some help.
Oh, yeah.
He did. He was offline getting through the turns, and Marco was trying to take advantage of it. Looks like they'll try and get him restarted.
So contact there with Marco Andretti.
Everybody's going really fast for being under a full course yellow.
The flags are out. They're waiting for the pace car to gather up the field, which it now has in turn 3. That's a long lap, and the caution was put out. They had a long way to come back around to the line, and then they had to get the pace car out in front of everybody to gather up the field, which you now see happening.
5 laps to go.
And they are going to be 5 flat-out laps, probably 4 by the time we get the green. They'll be at qualifying speed.
So, questions for you. Put us inside the race car. You're Elio Castroneves. You did everything exactly right to get that gap on that last restart. Do you ever doubt that you can do it again? And if you're Will Power, do you now have a better understanding of what you think he's going to do, and does it help you in some way?
It's advantage Helio Castroneves. He will do it a little bit differently than he did the first time. He will not repeat what he did before because, like you said, Will Power has that in his database.
And when you say repeat, he's not going to do the start at the exact same spot that he did before. He's going to play some games here. He's going to accelerate, let Will Power heal the acceleration, and then he'll take his foot off the gas. Will puts his foot on the brake, and then when Elio senses that, man, he's back on the gas, and off you go.
And he has to make it like he did before through 1 and 2, Alan, so that he has a clear run into 3. If you have a car behind you, close to you, going into 3, it's iffy if you make it through there ahead of them.
Not on the gas at this last restart will be Ryan Hunter-Reay, whose miserable weekend has come to a close, Rick.
Yeah, definitely the most frustrated driver out here. This whole weekend has kind of been the lost weekend for you. What finally put you out?
You know, it was a long weekend, absolutely. I'll try and erase this one from my memory and just move on to Texas. But what put us out was we lost pressure in the shift actuator, so we couldn't get out of first gear. But from the beginning, we started with a puncture, and we had to come in, and then we were off strategy. We tried saving fuel. Then we had to abandon that because it went green in the middle. Nothing we did work this weekend. So you just move on from these, and we're going to go to New York tomorrow, be on Letterman, so that'll be fun. But I needed some fun on track today. We didn't get it.
Well, the one thing he can remember when he goes to sleep tonight, he still won the Indy 500.
Absolutely. Now, these 3 days in Detroit will be ultimately forgettable for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Had problems in practice, then had problems in qualifying. Crashed on the last lap yesterday in race 1. Then this morning in the early qualifying session crashed, started in the back row, and now finally out of the race, 9 laps shy of the checkered flag. So, the restart's going to come with 3 laps to go in this race. Castroneves, Power, Kimball, and now Hinchcliffe, the top 5, with Scott Dixon getting shuffled back from challenging Power for second to now 5th place, and Simon Pagenaud behind him.
So warming up the tires now. Watch for Elio to accelerate hard again, spin those rear tires. Wants to have maximum grip when he goes to put his foot on the gas. And they go for the start. He lets that pace car get a long ways away.
It all hinges on how he gets through 1 and 2.
Same thing we saw last time. Castroneves let the pace car get away on that backstretch. Raced down there to get his tires heated up, caught it in this section of the track, then bottled up the field behind him.
And it's his choice as to where he accelerates. He has an area that he has to accelerate in.
You'll see cones. As you look at it in the shot that you'll see in the restart zone, they'll be on the fence to the right side of the screen. Anywhere in there, Castroneves can go. Pace car accelerates away. There are the cones for the acceleration zone. The field will now be in Elio Castroneves' hands. Who can get the jump? And that scramble down to turn 3. Here they go.
Power's hanging back.
Yeah, too far back though. Yep, the same thing again.
Even more of a gap than the first start.
Couldn't believe that Power just wasn't right up on the backside of his car.
Best passing zone of the track right here. Does anybody make a move?
Simon Pagenaud.
His teammate.
Mikhail Aloshin and Pagenaud there. Scrapping around. It's Munoz behind them.
Then Tony Kanaan. This is so difficult these last couple of laps. It's the second race in 2 days. You are worn out, you are sore, your hands have blisters, and you have to do the best driving of the weekend right now.
But right now you do not feel anything. You don't feel any of that tiredness. Your hands don't bother you. You're just working, getting through these next 3 laps as fast as you can.
Castroneves with a couple of car lengths on Power, who has a couple of car lengths on Kimball. That's where the stack up is. Kimball trying to defend 3rd. It's Hinchcliffe behind him. Our Honda telemetry.
Should be a run up to about 160 miles an hour, 62. We'll see where we're at. Yeah, through 1.
I don't think anybody is going to take this away from Castroneves.
Castroneves on the push to pass.
Again, Pagenaud defending on the inside. Will Mikhail Aloshin be able to go on the underside? Didn't get it done. Sliding these cars into the turn, sliding in the middle.
Going to get a drive-through penalty for Marco Andretti for the contract on Takuma Sato. He'll serve that penalty on the last lap of the race because they're coming to the white flag. Castroneves well armed in the push-to-pass department. Should he slip and Power able to close that gap?
Push to pass gives you some extra horsepower for about 15 seconds. They'll use it down the longer straight. Oh, look at Power.
So you think Power's not trying? Castro Neves is in a class of his own today. And he was there yesterday, just got unlucky with the yellows.
Coming to the white flag.
Look at the gap that he's put on the rest of the field.
But it's been a perfect weekend for Roger Penske. And with Chevrolet winning both races in a row.
Let's not forget it was a week ago that he finished second in the Indianapolis 500 in one of the closest, most aggressive races we've ever seen against Hunter Ray. And here he is again, doing incredibly well in Detroit.
Marco Andretti just served his pass-through penalty for the contact as Castroneves works his way through the twisting 3, 4, 5 section off onto the backstretch for the final time at top speed.
Yeah, watch this one here. Hinchcliffe is trying to set up Charlie Kimball. Kimball started to move over, and Hinchcliffe says, I'll go on the outside. There we go. Tight, 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 tight.
Into the
I didn't
barrier.
think that was going to work.
Did he keep it off the wall? I
Yes,
thought
he
was
did.
going
He's
into
still
the
running.
tires. That's a great job by Hinch.
Really good job by Kimball.
Well, I
He was still
I
third.
think Kimball could have been a little bit more polite.
There's no time to be polite.
Final corners. Helio Castroneves scored his very first IndyCar win here years ago and climbed the fence for the first time. Now he comes off the corner, going to get his third victory at this track, and will he climb the fence again?
You're the man, eh? Oh! That's the way. Good job.
That was a lesson for everybody.
Yes! Thank you, guys! You guys!
That was Roger Penske's voice you heard so enthusiastically on the radio, cheering his driver, the driver he calls the strategy for to victory lane. Roger, based in Detroit, the promoter of this race, and now the race winner as team owner. Very big victory for Roger and for Helio Castroneves. Jamie?
A huge weekend, a big event for you, Roger. You guys just missed it yesterday, but how sweet is this to get the victory, especially coming off the heartbreak of the Indy 500?
Well, I think things always work out for the best. It was a great race last weekend in Indianapolis. Hunter Ray had the day of his life. Today wasn't so good, but this guy Castroneves is something, and he had willpower right there. The pit crew was just absolutely great, and all the fans that came here to see a great day in Detroit. So thank you.
And now they all get to witness your driver, Helio Castroneves, will climb the fence, and we will be there with him.
And we always talk about events like the Indianapolis 500 and then other important events after that. And certainly for Roger, this is the most important one on his list.
Yeah!
Helio's no spring chicken, isn't he? 39?
Turned 39 just recently.
In May.
So he just did the Indy 500, could have won yesterday, and beat everybody today.
So Castroneves with his 29th career win ties Rick Mears for 11th all-time on the IndyCar win list. Rick Mears, the mentor to the drivers on the Penske team, including this man, Castroneves.
What do you got for me?
Let's see.
Hear the crowd roar.
What a race car driver. He can do everything.
What a scene as Helio Castroneves wins in Detroit for the 3rd time in his career. Back for the winner's interview after this from your ABC station.
Welcome back to Detroit Belle Isle. The celebration for Helio Castroneves continues. Roger Penske, team owner. This is his home track. It means the world to him. Helio has gone to victory lane 2 other times, but it has been a long time. We saw him climb the fence. Helio won his first ever IndyCar race here 14 years ago already. You climb the fence. Helio, how sweet does it feel to be back here, especially knowing how important this race is for your boss?
Yeah, we came out with the Hitachi car spot on. I mean, yesterday it was a frustration, obviously. Great that we won, but frustration for our side because we knew what car we had and we demonstrated today. But I want to thank Hitachi, obviously. Shell Pennzoil, man, that was great. Also, AAA, SKF, Verizon. Special Chevy, man. This is the land of Chevy, and we made it too. That was great. I'm so happy for the entire team Penske, Hitachi again, and my Adriana. Mwah! Ah! We made it! Woo!
Helio, just a week ago, the heartbreak losing the Indy 500. We saw your head down. It was the 2nd closest finish in history. How long did it take you to get over that and focus right here on this race?
Indy 500, it just clicked something. It just made us hungry. And here I am, I mean, on the victory circle. I want it so bad, and I want more than anything else this championship. So it's great to be back again on the victory circle, special here in the place that I won my first race. So it's a great energy. Again, man, I just can't believe this is an awesome day. Woohoo!
Gotta love the enthusiasm of Helio Castroneves. He's victorious in Detroit.
That's just fun. And a good day for the captain in his hometown. With Will Power first yesterday and second today. Castroneves dominant yesterday, not winning, but taking home the winner's trophy in this one. Back live at Belle Isle after the 2nd of the Indy Duel in Detroit races has taken the checkered flag with Helio Castroneves the winner. Will Power finishes 2nd. Great run for Charlie Kimball, his first podium for the season.
He was perfect. I'm amazed at what a good job Kimball did. But how about Helio Castroneves coming back from such a close Indy 500 and winning here in Detroit? I mean, just physically, that's a great accomplishment.
And both Penske cars being won, too. The other Penske car, Juan Pablo Montoya, stronger yesterday, finished 13th today, a little surprising. Jack Hawksworth, I'm not going to be surprised if we see him on the podium very shortly, and maybe even standing in the center, Alan.
And the other headline story of the weekend, the difficult one that Brian Hunter-Reay, the Indy 500 winner, had that has cost him the lead in the championship after these 2 races. Back downstairs for more post-race coverage. The runner-up is with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And that would be Will Power, a Penske sweep. He won yesterday. Helio won today. Well, what was going through your mind this last 8 or 9 laps, knowing you're going to have to not only catch your teammate Helio Castroneves, but somehow pass him?
I was, you know, just for Roger, I definitely wasn't going to race him hard. Unless he made a mistake, I wasn't going to go for a move, you know, unless I was close. But, yeah, great day for Chevy, for Roger, at his home track and Chevy's backyard here. It's just fantastic.
You had to come back from an early penalty. What happened early in the race when you made that move on the inside?
Yeah, I went up the inside, and I don't think Joseph saw me. It wasn't a very hard hit, and I'd have to see the replay to kind of comment on, you know, what the call was.
Okay, Will Power finishing in 2nd spot here after winning yesterday. Let's go to Rick.
Standing by with both the guys who finished 3rd and 4th, both Ganassi drivers. Let's start with Charlie Kimball. You kind of snuck up on everybody, but you definitely didn't sneak up on Hinch on that last lap. Let's talk about that last lap as he was trying to get you.
Yeah, I knew that I had no overtakes left, and he had 1 overtake left going down the back straight, and that was his last best opportunity. So I defended to the inside, sort of my right. When he got alongside me, we went into the corner side by side. You know, it's so hard because as much as the Firestones marbled today, when you were offline, you really start sliding around. I mean, it caught Scott out, and I was able to take advantage of that. So I knew if I could put Hinch offline at the apex, then I could get the drive out of the corner and hold on to the line. It was nice. I was able to help Hinch enough that Scott would be able to come through and for Chip Ganassi Racing end up 3rd and 4th.
Not bad. I don't think Hinch would call it helping, by the way. Scott, let's talk about your situation towards the end, because you look pretty strong and then suddenly started to fall back.
Yeah, the car was actually really quick. We after Briscoe was doing a good job in qualifying, I think all three of the other three cars switched to his setup, and it was pretty good in the race. So huge credit to the Target team. They were fantastic on pit stops and strategy today. Got us all the way up to third. And we were racy at the end, but I think I overheated the brakes in that caution period there, because I went into 3, pedal went to the floor, went straight ahead there, and then did the same thing in 7, and Charlie and Hinch got by me there. So, it was unfortunate. I think we could have had a podium today, but, good job by Charlie and everybody on the Target Chip Ganassi team.
All right, let's talk about the fact you started dead last. We were talking right before the race. You didn't sound that optimistic back then. Did you have any idea, any thought you could make it this far?
You're definitely a little more relaxed. Charlie and I were just sort of laughing about it. Chip gave us a pretty good pep talk after our qualifying efforts this morning. So, we were all pretty revved up, and as you saw the race play out yesterday, people that started at the back were still able to make it. We were lucky with that early caution. We came in, pitted, then we were set on the black tires from there on. So, it's a bit of pot luck, to be honest, to some of these street courses and how the yellows fall. And today, we picked the right strategy.
Let's talk about what it's like to race on this Detroit circuit. I mean, it's bumpy. Did it get any better at all during the course of the race?
My car today was a lot better, so it was a lot easier to drive and maintain the pace. The difficult part here is that you're trying to race and you can maybe pass somebody that's slow in front of you, but as soon as you go offline, I don't know if it's the dust that, the dust or the marbles that you get on the tires, but it takes you literally almost a whole lap to try and get the tire and the grip back underneath the car. So that's the hard part. You compromise yourself in taking a big move, to get out there, but you can definitely lose some spots if you're too brave and put yourself in a bad position. But it was a fun weekend. Got to thank all the fans for coming out. It was tremendous, and thanks to everybody on Team Target.
All right, Scott Dixon from 22nd all the way up to 4th. Not bad for these Ganassi guys today.
And from here in Detroit, Dixon and Kimball and the other drivers of the Verizon IndyCar Series will move on to more oval track racing. The 1.5 mile Texas Motor Speedway. That's next Saturday night at 8 Eastern over on NBCSN. And next up on our ESPN Motorsports coverage, Michigan for the Nationwide Series in a couple of weeks on June 14th. Helio Castroneves still high-fiving people, kissing his race car, jumping up and down after scoring the win today here on Belle Isle in Detroit. Great victory for Castroneves. He's the winner. James Hinchcliffe wound up 5th after a little last lap shuffle, Doc.
And he got shuffled, and people are coming by and saying thank you and apologizing. Now take us through what happened, Hinch, with you and Charlie Kimball those last few laps. What a great save you made.
Yeah, no, we had one more overtake than Charlie did coming out of 6th there, and I went to go burn it, and coming out of 6, I initially went right, and Charlie didn't like that, so he went right, and I had to duck out to the left, and it was always going to be tough on the outside there. But, yeah, as you can see, we got pretty close. Oh, I guess I did brush it. There you go. No, it was, I mean, once we got down there, that was fair racing, man. You're going for the last podium spot, and I could have played it safe and taken the 4th, but I really wanted to get on the podium, so to only lose 1 spot as a result, we'll take that.
How physically demanding was this day, given what you guys went through yesterday for 70 laps?
That's the biggest thing, is to do this 2 days in a row. I mean, this place beats you up pretty good. It's really bumpy, a lot of surface changes, and, I mean, you got hands blistered up, and you're dehydrated from a day of racing in the heat. You got to do it all again. So by the end of race 2, your focus, your concentration, mental fatigue, physical fatigue, it's a long day.
Blistered hands, scraped up race car, a little bit dehydrated, but still a top 5 finish. Good job, bud.
Thanks very much.
James Hinchcliffe brings it home in 5th place. Given all that, what a great run for him.
Was a solid day for Hinch here in Detroit. And so as we look at the championship standings after the weekend doubleheader, Will Power is now out on top, and Ryan Hunter-Reay drops 2 positions in behind Castroneves, now in 3rd place.
It's very interesting because this weekend's results, you see Team Penske for the first 2, and then Ganassi's cars 3rd and 4th, Andretti Autosport in 5th. I think that's what's going to happen throughout the remainder of the season, with a few sprinkles of some smaller teams getting in, being very competitive, as we've seen, Eddie, so far earlier this year.
I agree, but I think that the Penske team is on a roll right now. When you have a driver like Helio Castroneves that this early in the championship is talking about wanting that championship back, they have the resources, they have the energy, and they came oh so close at winning the Indy 500. they're going to be tough to beat.
And then we're on to a track that you and I always loved, Texas.
And as you look ahead at the rest of this season, it's shaping up to be a very seesaw, swinging pendulum fight for this Verizon IndyCar Championship as it goes throughout the remaining events of the year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It'll go down to the last few races.
So we wish our friends at NBCSN well as they pick up coverage of the series from here on through the awarding of the championship trophy. For us, from the season opener at St. Pete through the spectacular Indianapolis 500 through this great weekend here in Detroit, it's been a lot of fun. Been some great racing.
Some great racing, and we've had a lot of fun in the booth. And I would say that the drivers right now are going to head out for an adventure for the remaining races this year. You know what it's like. It's a long season and a lot of fun.
But what an exciting season it has been, and it's only going to get better.
So up next on ABC is ABC World News or your local news, except on the West Coast. And here on Belle Isle, in the Detroit River, adjacent to downtown, Roger Penske's hometown. The driver he calls the strategy for, Helio Castroneves, is the winner today. And we are green in Detroit. Power up the inside. Graham Rahal is collected.
Wow, boy, that's so tight through there.
Gotta run. Whoa, look out. Helio Castroneves going to get his third victory at this track.
Take that money, watch it burn. Sink in the river, the lessons I've learned.